Hi, my name is Amanda Lynn, and if you are preparing for the IELTS test, then you are in the right place. I have been teaching English for over 10 years now, and I have been teaching the IELTS test for most of my career. So there's so many tips and strategies that I would love to share with you. And we're not going to be able to get into everything, but we're definitely going to get into the most important things that you should be doing to prepare for the IELTS speaking test part 1. This is for whether you're taking the general test or the academic test. For the speaking part, they are both the same. So let's get into the tips. First of all, very, very important is you've got to build your confidence and you've got to be mentally ready for this. Now, if you don't have a problem with confidence, then awesome. But if you struggle in this area, then you've got to find a way to mentally prepare yourself for the day of the test. Because if you allow your lack of confidence to get in the way, then you could really bomb the test. That's an idiom. Bomb the test means you could really do bad on the test. I've seen it before. I've seen amazing people that speak so well in my lessons go and not do well on the test because of their confidence. So you've got to be ready for this, whether it's listening to motivational podcasts or speeches or putting yourself out there by practicing speaking in front of other people, whatever you have to do to get your confidence ready and set for that test, make sure you are doing that. Next is don't speak too fast. Now, a lot of people tell you don't speak too slow, and that's true. But most of the time, I see that people speak too fast. Either that's how they normally speak, or probably what it is for you is just being nervous. You know, we tend to speak faster when we're nervous. So if you're in the test or you're preparing for the test, remind yourself and allow yourself to slow down a little bit. We're not in a race here. You can slow down and you can take your time answering the questions. Definitely keep up your fluency and keep speaking. Don't stop and stutter, but do not speak too fast, because if you speak too fast, then you can't control your skills so well. Your vocabulary, your grammar, your pronunciation, everything, your clarity, your score could really suffer just because you're speaking too fast. So that's really important. Next is, and this is specifically, we're going over part 1 today. We will get into parts 2 and 3 later on, but for part 1, this is the beginning of the test. So, you know, they're going to ask you for your ID and they're going to ask you your name, and then the test begins. This part of the test, part 1, is about familiar topics. Things that you like, don't like, your life, your opinions, you know, normal everyday conversation kind of things. It could even be talking about your neighbors. So you want to give about 3 to 5 sentence answers for each question. So just to clarify, because a lot of people say, don't give a short answer, but don't speak too long. Well, how much is that? And from what I've seen, it generally is about 3 to 5 sentences. Anything below 3 sentences is not long enough. Once it gets into 5 or more sentences, that starts to get too long. So if you're speaking for too long, don't be surprised if the examiner stops you and moves on, because we need to keep going. They need to focus on the time. So first of all, always have an answer. So like saying, I don't know, that's not an answer, and that's not 3 sentences long. So if they ask you a question that you really don't have an answer for, then you need to find something to talk about related to that topic. So, like, for example, if they ask you about pets and you don't have any pets and you've never had any pets, then that could seem really difficult to talk about. But if the examiner asked me, "Do you have any pets?" I could say, "No, honestly, I have never had any pets because my parents never really allowed me to have a pet. But if I could have a pet, then I would really like to have a cat because I think they're really cute and fun to play with." So you can see that was a great answer. It was fluent. I still found something to say, and extra points for using a wide range of grammar. I used present and past and talked about a possible future. So these are the things you want to look for. So, so important. Next, for those of you who are really fluent, you need to have short, concise answers. You know, it's so easy when you're fluent to just go on and on and on and talk about like 5 different topics before you finished your answer. You can't do that to get a high score. So your answers should be short, no more than 5 sentences, concise, and organized. So as you're practicing, try to incorporate that. You know, try to make sure that your answers are short and sweet, so to say. Next is know what will happen in the test. Now, I know we're just talking about part 1 here, but it's so important for you to know what's going to happen in the test if you have never taken the test before. So I encourage you, go onto YouTube, watch IELTS speaking tests. You can see different bands, like examples of who got different bands, maybe an 8 or a 7 or a 6, and watch what happens in the test, because you're going to have to go through that. So you have to understand what's going to happen before you go in. So make sure you check that out. Next is, and this is such a great tip, and I highly encourage you to do this, read model answers online. So you can like Google or search IELTS model answers, you know, IELTS questions and answers, IELTS speaking model answers, or any combination of these sentences, and you'll find so many websites with IELTS questions and great model answers that incorporate so many things that you should include. And reading these out loud, it really allows you to learn a lot from them. It helps you learn about how long should it be, what kind of words should you be using. There's just so much. I could go on and on about the benefits. Definitely check it out and model the model answers. So practice from these model answers. Next, and this is one thing that I think most people get wrong, also teachers get wrong, is that you have to know how you're scored. And all you have to do is go onto your search engine like Google and search IELTS speaking band descriptors. IELTS speaking band descriptors. And print it out, print out that PDF document and see what you would have to do in the 4 speaking skills to get the score that you need. So if you need a 6.5 or you need a 7 or you need an 8 or whatever the number is, you've got to make sure that you know what the examiner is looking for and what you would need to do, your performance level to get that score. I mean, that's so, so important. So definitely go ahead and do that. So again, you are going to be scored in 4 areas of your speaking. And not to get into too much detail, that's basically fluency, vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. So for fluency, how comfortable are you speaking? How are you able to speak for a decent length of time without going, uh, uh, repeating yourself? Don't keep repeating yourself. Always have something new to add or new to say, and making sure that you're comfortable. So we're going to talk about how to build these, but the next one is vocabulary. So at the lower band scores, it's that you have enough vocabulary to speak about a wide range of topics. But as we get to the higher band scores, if you need like an 8 or you're shooting for a 9, then it's more specific because they want you to use less common vocabulary, academic vocabulary, vocabulary that has a lot of meaning to it, and also idiomatic phrases. So definitely building your vocabulary is very important. For grammar, it's not only making mistakes, which everyone thinks about. Oh, it's making mistakes. Yes, of course, it is about your accuracy, but it's also about your range. Can you use many different structures and many different tenses when you speak, and how well can you use them? And finally, it's pronunciation. So pronunciation includes, are you clear? Are you easy to understand? And do you have intonation? Does your voice go up and down? So some people worry about their accent. Accent's no problem. You can have any accent. It doesn't matter on the test. But clarity is important. You can have an accent and still get a 9. So just, be aware of that. Next, as you're practicing your speaking, it's really important that you practice regularly. I would say every day. If you have an IELTS test coming up, be practicing speaking every day. A lot of people find it easy to practice reading or practice other skills, listening, writing, but you do need to be speaking, and you need to be speaking out loud in that practice. So one great way to do that is to record yourself. And you can record your voice. Even better, you can record a video of yourself answering IELTS speaking questions and review that recording. So listen to that recording again and compare to the IELTS band descriptors that you printed out. Compare how are you doing in each category, and what would you need to do to get the score that you want. Very important, so that you are assessing yourself. And make sure you assess yourself, test yourself on many different topics, because you might be really strong in one topic, but not so great in another. So practice your strengths, of course, but also practice those topics that you are not so good in. And if you don't know what to say, then read model answers on that topic or watch videos on that topic and get yourself familiar with the vocabulary and the ideas for those topics that you find to be really difficult. And of course, while you're practicing speaking, speak out loud, project your voice appropriately. Don't speak so quietly that nobody can hear you. You gotta speak up, not too loud, like don't yell at the examiner, but make sure that they can easily hear you. You can easily be heard when you're speaking. So going into pronunciation. So how do you improve your pronunciation score? Well, this is definitely something you need to practice. So pronunciation is something that you should actually be studying. There are so many free resources on YouTube, online, all over the place where you can actually learn pronunciation features and learn how to pronounce things correctly. So that's really important if you're struggling to pronounce certain sounds in English. Another great tip and tool is for those of you that don't always say words clearly and people struggle to understand what you're saying, then Google Docs is great for this. So you can open a new Google Doc. If you've never used Google Doc before, it's just like Word. It's just a very easy program to use. Go into Tools and choose Voice Typing. Google Docs is great because it can keep up with your speed and you don't have to slow down for the speech to text. So everything that you say, it's going to write out. But the key is, if you don't say it clearly, it's going to write who knows what. It'll try to find something to type. So if you're speaking into the voice typing and you're seeing that it's writing something other than what you're saying, you need to go back and practice pronouncing those words and those sounds. So that's how to quickly find your pronunciation mistakes without the need of a teacher there constantly checking everything that you're saying. Next, have intonation. Another way of thinking about it is be excited about what you're saying or be interested. Have emotion and feeling, stress in your sentences. Don't sound monotone. So monotone is speaking like a robot, where you talk like this and your voice does not go up or down or anywhere. This is very difficult to listen to because it's so flat and no one is going to listen to someone that talks like this. So it's so important for your pronunciation score that you really do practice intonation. And you can also copy and imitate native speakers if you need help with this. You can get a coach, an English teacher online that can help you with your intonation, or simply just like I learned my languages, just listen to YouTube or podcasts or anything, or even TV shows, which are great because they're so animated, and just copy their intonation, just listen and copy, try to sound exactly like they do. All right, so next is fluency. If you're really struggling with fluency, I highly recommend that you use something that I call fluency drills. So, fluency drills is when you practice fluency alone. You don't practice the other skills, because if you're trying to think of what words would be good and what would be the correct grammar to use here, then you're going to be really slow, you'll hesitate, you'll stutter, and you won't be fluent. So you need to put that aside for now. Don't worry about your words or your grammar or anything. Just practice speaking without stopping, hesitating, repeating. Just keep practicing speaking so that maybe today you can practice and you can speak a whole minute without stopping, without stuttering. And then maybe tomorrow you can go for 2 minutes. And then by the end of the week, you could speak for a whole 5 minutes without stopping. This is something you need to practice every day. Fluency is like exercise. It's something that you can practice 15 minutes a day and see results by the end of the week. there are very few language skills where you can actually see a difference by the end of the week, assuming that you're at the intermediate level. You can actually see results by the end of the week. So make sure that you are practicing fluency drills. And once you're more fluent, keep doing it, because I can hear in my students when they go a week without doing their fluency drills, suddenly their fluency drops. So make sure you're doing that. Next, learn discourse markers. So if you're still listening to me right now, congratulations, because that tells me that you are really, really serious about this and you really, really want to learn. So let's do this. Let's go. Learn discourse markers, connectors. These are like, however, on the other hand, additionally, furthermore, and there's so many, type in to your search engine or Google discourse markers list or connectors for IELTS speaking, and learn that. That's the number one vocabulary that you should be learning, practicing, mastering, getting better at. Next, don't use simple words when you're speaking. So, don't use good or bad or big or small. These are very simple words. So you want to look up synonyms for these words. Look up synonyms for the words that you find yourself using a lot. And if you keep using the same word, like one after another in different sentences, then you need to learn synonyms. So look up the synonyms for those words. You can find higher level academic words and idioms even when you look up synonyms on Google. So make sure you're using a variety of words and don't keep using the same word again and again. Next is about vocabulary again, is to activate your passive vocabulary. Now, this is something that I discuss for anyone who wants to improve their vocabulary very quickly. So if you're preparing for the IELTS test, you need highly effective strategies that will get you to a better level of English as fast as possible. You don't have time. So you need to activate your passive vocabulary. Basically, passive vocabulary, these are the words that you know and you understand and you can use them if you think about it. But when you go to speak or you go to write, you don't think about them. You don't normally use these words. So anytime you find a good word and you think, wow, I know that word, I like that word, it's a good one, write it down in your passive vocabulary list. You can have like a notebook and just write it down, like have a list of these words on your notebook and practice these. Just have it right there on your desk as you're studying or wherever you're studying and pull from them. Practice these passive vocabulary words and they will soon become your active vocabulary. That means that you will use them naturally without having to think. That's what you'll have to do, because on the day of the test, with so much pressure, you're not going to have time to think, wait, what would be a good word to use here? No, there's no time for that. You need to have better active vocabulary before the test. So that will really help you out. And if you have any questions on these tips that I'm giving you, please leave comments below. I'll be glad to reply. Next, and I say this carefully, but don't spend too much time trying to learn new words to improve your speaking skills. Now, if you try to learn a whole lot, like hundreds of really complicated words that are so difficult, and you've got your test next month, you can't learn these words and make them part of your passive vocabulary and then your active vocabulary within that time frame. It's to, you know, to learn a vocabulary word. I'll talk about this in another video, but to learn a new word from the first time that you see it, just one word, the first time that you see it, to the point that you're able to use it comfortably speaking without having to think about it, that's a very long process. And that's just for one word. So if you're trying to learn a list of hundreds and hundreds of words, that's not really going to benefit you in your vocabulary when you're speaking. So try not to overwhelm yourself with trying to learn too many words with the goal of using them on the speaking test, because that's not so helpful. It's way better to be spending that time taking your passive vocabulary and making it active. Okay, and the next tip I have for you is to try the same test again. Try the same question again and try to get better each time. Now, what I see in too many of my students that I have been coaching throughout many years is that they don't want to try to answer a question that they've already done. And that's really doing themselves a disservice, because you want to get better each time. If you have practiced a question and you think you did a good job, that's good. But you want to do a great job on the test and you want to improve your skills and your speaking skills. So make sure that you are practicing again and again and get better each time. Don't be afraid or hesitant to try the same topics. Definitely surprise yourself with those topics, because with different topics that you didn't think about before, because that's the reality of the test. You don't know what questions they're going to ask you when you go in. So definitely put yourself in a situation where you are surprised by a topic and you immediately have to answer just like on the test. But then also go back to those questions that you've practiced and do them again. And if you struggle in that topic, then that's all the more that you should be practicing that topic. So that is part 1 of the IELTS speaking test. I hope that these tips serve you and help you along your journey. I wish you best of luck on your test, and let me know how it goes. And I hope that you do an awesome job on the test. I believe in you. I know that if you are listening to me now, that you are dedicated and motivated and driven. So I believe in you and I believe in your ability to figure it out. So keep going, keep practicing. Listen to this video again to write down any notes or tips that you need, because it's easy to listen to all of those and not remember them later. So make sure that you're putting everything that I'm telling you into practice and be ready for that test. All right, again, my name is Amanda Lynn, and good luck on your IELTS test. Thank you.